a short view. And all I can think of is you, baby. All I can think of is you.
What's the first car you ever owned?
First car was a 1960 Chevrolet. $75 out of high school, you know. That was good. Nice little 6-cylinder, 3-speed on the column. Had that for a little while. But that car had the wings on it, so you'd be going down the highway and about 65, 70, she'd start to lift up in the back. You'd feel like it was light. Yeah, pretty tricky.
What's the coolest car you've ever ridden in or driven?
Coolest car I've ridden in was my friend's 426 Hemi Roadrunner. That was pretty scary, actually. Yeah.
Why is that?
He'd be tooling down the highway speed, and tromp on it. She'd actually break rubber. The thing had 426 horse, a lot of torque. It pushed your neck back to the seat. It was pretty wild. Yeah, pretty wild car.
Oh my word! The first car I ever owned was a 1950 DeSoto Duoglide, which was a remarkable vehicle. I bought it for $50, I ran it for 3 years, and I sold it for $50.
What's the coolest car you've ever ridden in or driven?
Well, I'd have to say that a vehicle that I bought 2 years ago, which is a 2011 Audi R8 Spider, which is a V10 525 horsepower rocket ship, is truly the coolest car I've ever owned.
Do you name your cars?
Yes,
Give me some examples.
I've got a Pontiac I didn't name. I've got a 61 Mercedes 4-door sedan, and I call it Schultz, named after the sergeant on that TV show. You know, I know nothing, I see nothing.
What was I asking you? Oh, the coolest car you ever ridden in or
A
drove?
37 Pontiac.
And why was it the coolest?
It was unique. I never saw any others around. It just had a 2-seat in the front. And I used to date my girlfriend with it. We used to go to the outdoor theater, and the trunk was so large you could put 3 people in it. So versus driving up to the screen, I used to back up to the screen, and we used to lay in the trunk with the hood open and watch the movie.
Well, the follow-up question is, what kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
The 37 Pontiac.
Oh, I have a very distinctive memory about learning how to drive as I went to get my license at age 16, and they said parallel park. And I didn't have any idea what that even meant. And I stormed out of the place and said, I didn't get my license. And my mother said, why? And I said, because I don't know how to parallel park. Oh, you don't know how, need to know how. I don't know how. And it was another year before I learned how to parallel park.
That's a disappointing...
A disappointing day when you're 16 and your friends are waiting and you're the oldest one that's going to come home with the license. So.
What kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
To Lover's Lane for the first time? I don't know that I've ever been to Lover's Lane yet.
Are you on camera?
Have we been to Lover's Lane? Are we going?
I don't know where Lover's Lane is.
Are we going?
Yeah, let's go.
What's the coolest car you've ever driven or ridden in?
This one.
What is it?
It's a 41 panel. I bought it for $50. It was a chicken coop at the time. I bought it here in town, 40 years ago.
What's the car of your dreams? The car you lust after?
Rat rods.
What's that?
You'll probably see some here. They're just old vehicles made out of junk parts, rusted, just cool.
Rat rod.
Yeah, junkyard dog stuff. I don't aspire to glitz and glam. I like junk.
What's the car you miss the most and wish you still had?
Probably my 72 Rally Nova. That was a sweet car. First brand new car I ever bought. 72 Rally Nova. Mojave gold with a white stripe. Small block, beautiful car. Cost $3,200 brand new. That's the one I drove to Vermont, and the economy made me sell it.
What kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
Okay, that's fine.
A 75 Pacer. I bought that one brand new too. Left the dealership, hit the railroad tracks, and the windshield went. They had a windshield like massive. You remember the Pacer? Looked like a turtle, like almost like an upside down fishbowl. Yes. AMC car. That was probably the first one.
Do you have a memory about learning how to drive or the first time you were allowed to drive on your own?
I remember my dad had a two-tone green DeSoto, and that was one of my first experiences sitting in that car and tooling around the block with him, and he let me drive it a little bit, and so that was sort of my first experience, yeah. Very nostalgic. First car we ever owned, Marilee, was we did own a Pontiac? Pontiac. See, my wife knows the answers to these questions. We did own a Corvair at one point, so I will have to admit to that, but we're still alive to talk about it. So.
What kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
That would be, I think we walked, actually. I don't think, I think, what? We took the bus, right? Took a subway to a bus.
I also have a Model T Ford. That's in Vermont. Both cars are in Vermont, and the Model T Ford is really underpowered and doesn't have sufficient braking for the mountains of Vermont. Although the Model T is really fun to drive, but not in Vermont. It's a little hairy, to say the least.
Yeah.
I flipped it once.
What kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
Oh, Lover's Lane would have to definitely be the Chevrolet 409. And there was a Lover's Lane. It was at the University of Wisconsin.
A busy road.
Sufficiently busy. Yeah. It's called Picnic Point. If you would go to any of the big meets, like Amelia Island, Pebble Beach, Boca Raton, the AACA, which is the Antique American Automobile Club, all the heads of these organizations, they're all worried about trying to attract younger car aficionados to the sport. And that's a big problem.
What's the first car you ever owned?
1957 Ford Fairlane.
Where'd you get it from and what color was it?
I got it from a junkyard in Brooklyn, and I paid $25 for it. It was a great car. I had it all through the summer. The only problem is that the plugs would fall out of the engine when it got hot, the expansion plugs. So what I did was I ordered a box of a couple of dozen of them. I would have it in the trunk. We would go somewhere. I'd have extra water, and when it would drop out, all the water would go out of the engine. So I'd pull over, we'd wait a half hour, and then I'd get under. I'd put in the two expansion plugs that weren't good, and then we'd fill it and drive on. So that was my first car.
Do you have a distinctive memory about learning how to drive or the first time you were allowed to drive on your own?
I have a distinct memory of my father yelling at me. Of course, I wasn't doing whatever he wanted me to. That was most of it.
What kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
My Ford. In fact, my wife, we started going out in high school. Okay, the first car, the Ford that I told you about, we used to go over to the football field, and I used to park in the football field, and we used to make out there. One night, we had tap, tap, tap on the window. It was a police officer with his nightstick knocking on the window, and he threatened to call our parents if we ever came back there. And back then, you listened to cops. So that was it for Pal's Oval.
And what do you think about the future of cars? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to become like a toaster. You're going to touch it, it's going to do everything, and you won't be doing anything with it.
But it wasn't the fastest car that I've driven.
What's the fastest car?
Would have been my car, which was a 65 GTO. That was absurdly fast. And when you're a teenager and you have something like that, it's only a matter of time till something happens.
What kind of car did you take to Lover's Lane for the first time?
This is a personal question. You didn't tell me you were going to ask personal questions. It was my father's car, 63 Catalina, 4-door sedan, lots of room. That's enough.
I remember my folks had a 51 Ford 4-door sedan, and we were driving down the road, and Dad says, "You want to drive?" And it was a standard shift, and he had to put pillows behind me, and he said, so I grew up on a farm, you know, where I was driving tractors, so I just get in behind the car and started driving. That's, you know, I had to look in between the steering wheel because I wasn't tall enough to see over the steering wheel. Yeah, the car was baby blue, like a robin's egg blue. Yeah.
How'd you feel?
I feel like I had graduated to another stage in my life, you know, or, oh boy, I can drive now, you know, but I had a long ways to go. I was only about 8, maybe.
What's the car you miss and wish you still had?
My 56 Chevy Bel Air hardtop. I had souped that up a little bit, and that was my second car, but the first car was my 55 Chevy was like just to get around, you know. But the 56 Chevy, I had it painted, and I put a different engine in it, and I put a truck clutch in it, and I put a 4-speed transmission out of a Corvette, and I had put bucket seats in it. Yeah, I miss that car.
Take that one back.
Yeah.
Do you have a distinctive memory about learning how to drive? Or the first time you got to drive by yourself?
I don't know. It's a little fire engine count and the pedal in there. There you go. That's it.
Who taught you how to drive?
Me.
Do you name your cars?
Only one. One car I named Annabelle. It was a 65 Country Squire. Ford station wagon.
It's the fastest car you've ever driven.
SS 396.
Where were you?
When I drove it, 106 in Oyster Bay, straight and flat. Everybody went to race there, quarter mile.
Back when you could race cars, right?
Yeah, that was the drag strip.
What's going to happen with the cars in the future, you think?
Cars in the future?
Where are we going?
A solar panel on the top of it, and that's about it. You're going to do 60, maybe magnetic roadways, opposite poles, and that's where that's going. There you go, solar powered with magnetic roadways, and there you go, that's where it's going.
I never thought about that. It's pretty good.
But if you go anywhere with it,
we'll have you on tape saying,
that's right.
I
said
told
it
you
first.
so.
That's right.
I think that's it.
I don't have a pony taking me